But I don't think we're big enough and strong enough as a group to maintain. Like, it gets hijacked. Like the whole import. Like, that was our...
To me, was the closest thing to, like, having an Asian American experience that no one else could get.
Yeah,
and then it became,
but Fast and Furious and everybody else...
Which is great to share it, but, like, people forgot the roots of, like, why Asian Americans were fixing up cars that didn't deserve that much money in time. All right, we got some new data on Asian hate.
Yay, Asian hate!
It's not yay, Asian hate.
Why do we hate ourselves?
It's just part of who we are.
So they did a poll with a pretty big sample size of Americans. I think it says here 6,272 Americans were polled.
Okay.
And then out of the Asians that were polled, it says that 1 in 3 Asian Americans say that they faced hate for their identity.
What? 1 in 3?
That's a lot.
That's bullshit.
They're f***ing bullied a lot, huh?
Or that's just like one time in your life somebody called you Chino and you're like, yeah, I've experienced Asian hate.
Yeah, I guess everybody.
Yeah,
everybody
I thought they were talking about during the Asian hate period. I'm like, not that many Asians getting jumped out on these streets.
Yeah, people weren't even going outside.
You're talking about in their life.
I think so.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And it's not to say what exactly the experience is.
I think that
this is non-violent. First of all,
I think it depends, cause like I have a friend who grew up in like North Carolina, one of those places, right? And he goes, the racism that you face there is like you're walking around and some dudes are going fucking chink. You like some hardcore, like it's straight up in your face racism.
Yeah.
And in California, you got the microaggressions, and you thought I was Chinese when I was Japanese. And it's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
that's true. Yeah.
That's what gets me fired up.
And in our generation, it's straight up run-ins with neo-Nazis or something that's like, you're at the beach and these fucking dudes with swastika tattoos want to throw down because you're not, whatever.
And that's a microaggression.
It's a different, I think there's so many levels to this shit, and I'm like, what constitutes as real racism while the other one is like a mistake?
Well, it's hard to say because even when it's very clearly racism, the DA will say, I didn't see that. I'm not going to try that person as a hate crime. Who knows? But 41% of Asian Americans say they feel like they'll be physically attacked.
Damn, that sucks.
Yeah. And then it says, but then here's an interesting little fact, by the way. Of these Asians that were polled, here's an interesting difference. More of the Asians that were Democrats were the ones that felt like they experienced Asian hate, and the Republicans didn't.
That makes sense.
It probably depends on the area they live in.
Well, I feel like at least currently, because you know, like the meaning of Democrat Republican changes over the decades. Yeah. In this day and age, I feel like the Democrats are the ones that kind of possess more of the victim mindset. So if something bad happens, it's like, oh, they're doing it to me, versus it could have been a mistake, like Joe said, or it could be other factors. But in the way that things are being perceived by the people of that party of this day and age, it feels very like, oh, me, they targeted me for sure, you know? And it's like, oh, are you sure like that guy, maybe he isn't blind or he accidentally did whatever? Like, no, for sure he did that on purpose.
You know what else is interesting? More of the Asian Americans that feel like they're going to be attacked are the younger ones, and the older ones are they feel more likely to not be attacked.
And they're the ones with the accents. They're not going to attack me, man. I blend in.
And it's the older ones that are getting attacked.
Yeah. And
Isn't
from
that-
the back, from the behind. It could be paranoia.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the funny thing is that they asked random Americans to name a famous Asian American, and 52% of them couldn't think of anyone. 9% named Jackie Chan.
That's good. I'm surprised that percentage isn't higher.
What about like all the OG YouTubers like Ryan Higa, Kev Jumba? They don't think they're famous, or
5% of them said Bruce Lee, and 2% of them said Kamala Harris.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a service center Asian.
Who would you name? What would you name if they came up to you?
a famous one?
What do you want? Boy, girl?
Russell Wong.
Jeremy Lin.
Pick the first one comes to your name.
Russell Wong just did NCIS.
Yeah, but they're not household names.
I got a sexy dude.
Like if you, like let's say if you were like white or blacker, and then you're in your bubble. Like most people in America, they don't watch content outside of their own group.
Yeah.
Asa Akira.
What if they asked?
Wow,
that's a-
wow.
you're
You're
right.
feeding into the thing he said about the
Everyone would know.
websites.
What if they did? What if they did this during the time of Linsanity? Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
I bet a lot of
dude,
people would have been
that
like,
shit was
"Oh, Jeremy
crazy.
Lin."
Yeah, they would have said Jeremy Lin.
They would have said Jeremy Lin.
Sure.
There's a lot of actors like David Lim, who's on the Friday night show, CBS SWAT. He's on SWAT. There's obviously Daniel Day Kim.
You watch
but there's
SWAT?
Daniel Day Kim's a freaking good one.
William Lee,
Ronnie
who's
Chang.
on Good Doctor. Ronnie Chang.
Yeah.
Simu Liu.
Asian American, like they were born here. Like you have to be born.
Asian
They're-
American,
yeah.
yeah.
And the ones I mentioned.
That's why
they're
it's
all
funny
kind of
that,
from
that
here.
that many people said Jackie Chan.
Well, Jackie Chan's a household name, and Bruce Lee is, right? Like,
Bruce
it
Lee is
depends
Asian
on who you
American.
ask. It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, if they're asking for a household name, I can't really think of a household.
Well, I guess if they just said name a famous Asian American.
Yeah,
That's like who's famous to you?
George.
Tyga.
George Takei,
Tyga?
He's half Vietnamese.
Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods.
Mark Paul Gosselaar.
I don't know.
Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell.
Half Singaporean.
He's Indonesian.
Oh, Indonesian.
And what's great
isn't that
is he's on
crazy?
interviews.
Wait, Zach Morris?
He's on interviews, stopping the interview and going, "No, I'm half Asian."
Is it?
Yeah,
half-
it's great.
None of us-
He's great
he's
about it.
Papa, dude.
Yeah, he's great about it. Like he's really like
That fucking blew my mind.
Why does he look full white?
he looks full. With,
All American blonde boy.
he said he hated that part. Saved by the Bell. They had to dye his hair blonde.
Oh, they dyed it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, his mom is Indonesian.
yeah, but his hair is.
So
his hair's
he's a Hoppa boy.
yeah.
Steve Aoki.
Oh yeah.
Stephen Yun.
Yeah,
Walking Dead.
I mean, I'm sure like it's probably not that cool to see Asians naming Asians. It's probably boring.
Sorry.
Good content.
But then like I'm thinking when they're quizzing white people and they can't think of anyone, that's pretty.
So I'm trying to think.
It's like of course we could think of them.
Oh yeah, Simu Liu.
Come on, he's an Avenger.
Yeah, again, it'll never end. We'll just keep.
How many white people know that guy's name though like that?
Sandra Oh.
This isn't really about what we
Sandra
think
Oh,
is
Canadian.
the famous Asian. It's about
white
why is it that like an average American can't think of one?
It's because we don't have enough representation.
We haven't made it yet. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But like, ain't
I mean,
complaining
everyone
here. It's
knows
just like,
Bruce
yeah,
Lee.
we just gotta keep going.
Yeah, we just gotta keep going. We
Everyone
haven't
knows
made it
Bruce
yet.
Lee.
We gotta get our names on the leaderboard. It's like when you go to your high school and you're like, "Oh, come we don't have a CIF fucking banner." It's like, cause you guys suck still. That's why.
Yeah, and I don't think it's. I really don't think it's on them. Like it's not on the Americans to think of one.
It's on us.
Yeah.
And we gotta include the Indians because then we'll win more, right?
Yep.
Like the Aziz Ansaris or,
But I don't relate to them.
Dude, you're telling them.
But I have a controversial take though about this.
What is it?
If you look, and I'm speaking specifically for comedy. If you look at like I don't want to say top or upper echelon, but like the ones that are on TV more frequently, they're not the most masculine Asian comedians. Like in terms of men, Bobby's not the most masculine guy in the world. If you look at the two bigger Korean comedians, one is on Saturday Night Live, he's gay. The other one's
Oh, yeah.
Joel Booster
That guy.
Kim, he's gay.
Yeah.
And so it's almost, and I'm not gonna go out and venture and say they did this on purpose.
Say it. Just
but
fucking
they're
say it.
they're like basically emasculating the Asian male.
I think we're just not there yet. That's
It's
why.
because we're too masculine, so they need to balance
No,
it out.
I actually have an idea of why that is. I think one, there's not enough of us, and the type of guys that typically go into theater and film are not masculine. Masculine Asian men they're actually going to special ops. They're actually out there being CEOs, and then they're doing more like traditional masculine roles because entertainment doesn't attract enormous amounts of masculine men. So that's why population-wise, I don't think we really have that. Whereas like there are a lot of masculine-looking, appearing, white, black, whatever. And then when you get to know them, you're like, oh, you guys are actually kind of feminine, but you present very masculine. So you can play the role.
Okay.
You can play the role. You look like, like there's a lot of guys that look like, what's his name? Jason Momoa. And then like on a photo, they look super good and tough and masculine. And then you talk to them and they're super flamboyant and very like feminine, right? But then I think with Asian men, we look younger, and also like guys that are in this field, like theater and all that, like I don't think it attracts the upper echelon of the most masculine dudes.
I also think it's the producers are choosing too. Like you look at Simu Liu, he's not the most masculine guy. But you look at Will Yoon Lee, Brian T, who's on Chicago Med.
Yeah.
They're like masculine guys. They don't get chosen. A lot of times they don't get chosen for those roles.
That's true.
Like Simu Liu. Simu's like great. He's talented. They're all talented. Simu happened to be on the hot show at the time, which was Kim's Convenience. Will Yoon played the bad guy in Elektra. He was also in the classic movie Torque. I don't know if you guys saw.
Oh yeah.
The motorcycle movie. He's a masculine guy that white girls thought was good looking.
So I did talk to Simu during the audition process. Because of the show, of the movie, they wanted the person to be able to do a lot of their own stunts. Mm-hmm. Could any of those guys do their own backflips and stuff?
Will taught Taekwondo, and then he wasn't getting paid enough from his dad.
Yeah.
So he left and came to Hollywood.
Did he audition? Because he could have been. I think he could have been a good change.
I think he would have been great. I don't know, but he is older though now. Will's older now. Like so, when he did Elektra, he was probably in his 20s.
Because I know the audition process for Shang-Chi was pretty crazy. He was telling me like it was acting for sure, but also there's a lot, and he doesn't have an outfit. Like he's just wearing regular clothes for the whole movie, so he had to do all his own stunts. So like acrobatics was part of the audition too.
Because Will also was he was in, is it Tomorrow Never Dies, the one where Rick Yoon was the bad guy, the North Korean guy, and they did the whole Face Off before Face Off became a.
Oh, yeah, that guy's masculine.
Will Yoon was the guy, the original guy, and then he did the Face Off, and then he became Rick Yoon. But they're all Rick had different issues, but Will, I thought Will was a guy that could have made it if his timing was better.
Yeah.
If he was born a little later.
I think for the size of we're less than 3% or something of the U.S. So when they say not enough representation, I think we actually have really good representation for the size of our population. Yeah. Because if you think about how
Per
many
capita representation.
Yeah, black there are in the U.S., but then even they're kind of stereotyped in entertainment or sports in a certain way, right? Where they don't have a representation of all of the the way that their community is or whatever, right? Where Asians is I think we have a long road ahead. We just have to grow the population, and then also there has to be more Americanizations.
And it's still, I think one thing that we can't ignore anymore is that even when they do get a shot and they put an Asian movie or TV show out there, the viewership always comes back low, despite it being a good product.
Yeah, we gotta support our people too.
But also, maybe as many people that wanted to watch it did watch it, and it just doesn't equate to as many people.
Yeah, like Joe said, if we don't have enough population in the country, then you know what I mean?
Because at the end of the day, it's a business. So it's if they're gonna spend the same amount of production budget on a concept, but the audience is 100,000 versus 5 million, they're gonna go for the 5 million crowd.
That's what I think.
Whether it's Latino or whatever, you know what I mean?
And when you're creating something, when they go out of their way to make something too Asian, then you're annihilating an entire audience, alienating them, and they're not gonna see it. But it's a thing where if it was just a good fucking product, it just happens to be Asian. That's tight.
That Everything Everywhere All at Once movie.
That's a story that lots of people can relate to.
Yeah. Fresh Off the Boat. How many Asians watched Fresh Off the Boat?
I couldn't watch it.
But a show like that, the thing is, a show like that, if 80% Asians watched it, then people pay attention, and then they'll make another one.
We can tell the inauthenticity because a lot of the times it's very produced, and then there's maybe a Jewish writer or someone that's doesn't get the culture, and it changes. Because even the creator of Fresh Off the Boat was dude, this is so different from what my whole story was. It's went off course. And then so when we watch it, we're what the fuck is this? It feels like a PF Chang's. It doesn't feel real.
But there's steps to it all. So if Fresh Off the Boat, it did do well. But if no Asians watch that and no one supports it, then the next time an Asian show comes up or predominantly Asian cast, the network's gonna be you know what? Let's stay off. But you do have to kind of Caucasianize it, because they're the ones that need to watch it. They're the ones that spend the money.
It needs to be more palatable.
Yeah. But what about? Go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say for marketing, that 18 to 49-year-old, they want people that spend money. They make over 70 grand. They're the ones that spend money. They don't. One of the reasons they don't market to Asians is first, 3%. There's only 3%. The other reason is they don't market to us because we already have it. We already bought it. They don't need to market the iPhone to us. We already bought it. They don't need to market the newest,
Pretty
latest
smart,
thing.
yeah.
But like for white people, they don't have it yet. We've already got it all. So they're not. We're not a marketable. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of for this, but like we're not a very marketable group because we statistically we do make more money salary on average, and we're gonna buy the stuff.
We make more and we're fucking stingy as fuck.
Yeah.
You know who does market to us? Costco in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
They cater to it. I was gonna say, like, you know, K-pop, anime, all these things are authentically like motherland Asian products that are worldwide, and they didn't have to cater to the outside. But what people are actually buying is the culture, because they want the authenticity, right? So I think we're very niche, like Asian Americans, Western, like Asians that grew up in Western culture, whatever.
Yeah.
And we don't have like our own thing that makes everybody go, oh, that's fucking sick. Like one thing would probably be like Fast and Furious, but that got hijacked, right? Or like, what is an authentic subculture that exists with us that the world can be like, that's fucking sick, and that thing's your guys' thing.
Jabberwockies.
It's a good start.
So that's what we need to find, I think.
You know, it's funny too. Like that's like I'll get a lot of ads for this too. But like one thing I learned about traveling through Asia is that marketing to white people is better than marketing to Asians for selling something to an Asian.
Yeah.
Which is like
makes sense.
you know, like when you go to China and you see Gucci billboards and you see like things like that.
Yeah.
They would rather see a white person in the billboard to understand that, oh, I can reach that echelon.
Yeah.
And then if you just showed them someone like them.
That's true, because I would go to Japan and see George Clooney ads on a fucking like thing, and I'm like, that's crazy. I mean, yeah, you do see local celebs too.
You got fucking Bob Sapp doing Japanese toothpaste commercials and shit. You're like, what does that have to do with anything?
They also do. Asia does pay more though for those celebrities to do those ads than America does. The other thing
It's
too.
less detrimental in their career.
Yeah. The other thing too with K-pop is like, so Blackpink right now is the #1 subscribed group on YouTube. Actually, they're #1 subscribed on all of YouTube. In Korea, they weren't #1. They're #1 now.
That's an interesting fact.
But my friend said that, because America likes Blackpink, now Korea will like Blackpink.
US is still the trendsetter, huh?
BTS wasn't #1 in Korea when they came out. EXO was #1. Twice was #1 before Blackpink was #1. Wow. And then so once like America and globally they embraced Blackpink, they embraced BTS. Then they became #1 in Korea.
So it's almost like if you blow up in America, then you could blow up back in your home country.
That's
now
the rule with all of
they
Asia,
want to
yeah.
sing in English now. They keep wanting to sing. Yeah, they keep wanting to sing in English. So a lot of the K-pop songs, like New Jeans, they sing in English because they feel like that's the way. But what they're doing is they're neglecting their original fans, because the original fans love that they spoke in Korean. They sung in Korean, and they it's a whole thing to translate it all. But they're just speaking in English. On Reddit, they'll be like, "Does the songs feel the same?" Because they're speaking in English.
Dude, that's a really interesting point that you're bringing that up, because a lot of people point to K-pop almost as proof of like, see, look, we're popular, the world likes this. But then when you dissect it to that level, then that gets a little bit like messed up.
It's a different.
Yeah, it wasn't like a linear.
Yeah, it always goes back to the same point.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when I was in Korea in 2009, I was asking like a lot of the locals, like, oh, what kind of K-pop you listen to? And they're like, that's teeny bopper stuff. We don't listen to that. We listen to hip hop. We listen to whatever. And I was like, oh, really? I thought all of Korea would just be like behind K-pop. And finds out that it's foreigners that are more into K-pop than locals.
It's like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift is immensely popular, but you walk down the street, you probably can't find a Taylor Swift fan unless it's like a younger woman or like one of that demographic. That's, I think, how K-pop is. It's like Britney Spears. She's popular, everyone knows who she is, but how many actual fans? It's mostly the younger people. And that's what so when I go to Korea and I'm like, oh, I like Blackpink and K-pop, I get made fun of because they're like, you're listening to young people music. But they are in Korea, I know they are into rap. They're heavily into like rap. They're heavily into like, I guess we'd call it folk singers, like just solo artists. They love that stuff.
Oh, like the buskers?
Yeah, that's huge in Korea. The busking stuff is huge. But yeah, it's very, how we view it is very different than like that country, how they're viewing it.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
But I think that there's not enough of that in our culture. Like specifically Asian American culture, where it's like we're not exporting something that is unique that people are going, that's fucking sick. I want to buy into that, you know? It's like the best way I can put it is like, all right, there's a very unique Hawaii reggae culture, right? That like you kind of don't know unless you go to Hawaii. And then there's a lot of Asian artists, Polynesian artists, whatever. And then you know, maybe people in California would get it, but it's so niche. And it's really cool, and people that get exposed to it, they'll be like, that's sick. And then I start listening to it. But there's nothing of that defines
One might argue that something that the Asian American did export to people influentially was like the rise of us doing like social media influencing.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good argument that a lot of people don't realize. Because it was the independent alternative, and then it became mainstream.
But I don't think we're big enough and strong enough as a group to maintain. Like, it gets hijacked. Like the whole import shit. Like that was our
to me was the closest thing to like having an Asian American experience that no one else could get.
Yeah,
and then it became,
but Fast and Furious and everybody else,
which is great to share it, but like people forgot the roots of like why Asian Americans were fixing up cars that didn't deserve that much money. There was just our own little like thing.
But I would argue that back then we had more of an identity and a unified like look than today.
White beaters and chains.
Nautica.
Yeah, there was an actual style and culture behind
Frosted
it.
tips.
Yeah, true.